Hello everybody, Gregory here from WapCar, and today we are taking a look at this, the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, the range topper in the local Corolla Cross lineup, which consists of two other petrol models, the 1.8G and the 1.8V. Now these days, manufacturers are blurring the lines between segments, but as we all know, we still shop according to budget. And if you've got 136,000 ringgit, it's either this, or the Honda CR-V, or Hyundai Kona, Mazda CX-30, or maybe even the Subaru XV. So then, is the Corolla Cross Hybrid worth a look, or should you just go ahead and skip it? Let's find out. So let's start off with the looks. And up front, the easiest way to tell the difference between this and the petrol models is by catching the blue accents on the logo and within the headlight assembly, plus hybrid badges around the car. Elsewhere, it's identically spec'd with the 1.8V. We've got LED headlights, LED fog lights, and this, a front apron that's body colored. Moving on to the side, we get two-tone 18-inch wheels wrapped in Toyo Proxus CR1 tires. They measure 225/50. Above here, we get roof racks. Not just for show though, Toyota claims they can withstand a load of 70 kilograms. Over to the rear, we get LED combination taillights with what Toyota calls a light curtain design, and down below, there's a body-colored diffuser. All in all, I think it looks alright. It's not the most striking thing to look at, nor is it the most hideous. And the plus side of that is that I think it's going to age very well in the long run. My only gripe with it, only gripe with it, is this, the offset positioning of the Corolla badge. Then, there's the hands-free powered tailgate. Which eventually opens up to a boot space of 440 litres, which is the same as the petrol models, so there's no compromise on that front. How has Toyota done this? Well, they've placed the batteries under the rear seats. So yeah, clever packaging. And if you need more space, the rear seats fold 60/40. As for the load lip height, it's not that high, so loading heavy objects shouldn't be much of a problem. However, the wheel well intrusions, yeah, they kind of eat into the space, so that might affect the overall flexibility. Moving on to the interior. Initial impressions, not that bad. Yes, some people are saying it looks very boring, feels very cheap, but if you go poking about, you'll find some soft touch plastics on the dash and the door cards. Overall, it's not a bad place to be in. Yes, the presentation may be a bit safe, but everything falls to hand pretty easily. Now, let me show you a neat trick. If you have the car in reverse, the side mirrors, they dip, so you can always double check if you're gonna run into a curb or anything. But in order to have that function, you need to have the adjustment knob turned either to the left or the right. Okay? If you have it in the neutral unengaged position, the mirrors, they don't dip. Don't ask me why. The biggest difference between this and the petrol model is likely the instrument panel. You see, in the petrol model, we get a mostly analog setup with a 4.2-inch display. But here, we get a 7-inch display that's digital. And in place of the rev counter, there is a power readout because this is a hybrid and all. Now, you get a ton of information being displayed here, but one of my favorite views to project is this. It's a readout that shows you where the power is coming from or if the batteries are being charged. And because the graphics, they're not super complex, I find this to be one of the easiest ways to explain the absolute basics of how a hybrid system works. Moving on to the infotainment system, there is a 9-inch touchscreen display with wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Overall, it's a pretty simple, straightforward system to use, but if you're really blitz scrolling, you're gonna get a tiny bit amount of lag. Not much, just a tiny bit. And on top of that, you also get a 3D panoramic view monitor. It's a useful feature, no arguments right there, but the video quality can be a bit better, let's put it that way. There's also one small issue I have. See, if you're going at very slow speeds and you indicate, the camera comes on, which conceptually is fine, but if you're on ways, you can't kill the feed, so you have no idea where exactly you're going until after you've completed the turn. As for storage spaces and cubby holes, there's unfortunately not a lot of it compared to the CR-V or even the HR-V. I mean, you get one space for a 250ml bottle by the door cards down here. There are no cubby holes on the front door cards, which is weird because the rear ones have them. Don't know what's going on with that. Down below the aircon controls, you get a space for odd bits and bobs, but the entire slot is actually taken up by the Qi wireless charger, which, by the way, is a 520 ringgit option. Further back, there's a pair of cup holders, and below the sliding armrest, you get a 12-volt power socket and more storage spaces. But that's about it. Oh, and the glove box, that's adequate. Alright, for reference, I'm 184 centimeters, and with the front seat adjusted to my driving position, I get about 1.5 tennis balls worth of headroom plus 1 tennis ball worth of leg room. So, a bit tight. So, while it's tolerable if I'm the only passenger, I've actually attempted to fit 4 adults around my height inside the car, and let me tell you, it's not good. It's way too tight. I mean, in terms of headroom, yeah, we can live with that, but leg and shoulder room, no. The CR-V, even the HR-V has a lot more space. Doesn't help that the headliner, which is black, makes the cabin feel a little bit more claustrophobic. Now, as for rear storage spaces, as mentioned, we get cubby holes this time, and another cup holder that should be able to fit a 250ml bottle. Yeah, it does. In the armrests, there are 2 cup holders. Yep, all good. We get air vents here for the rear passengers and 2 USB-C ports. But there is only 1 seat pocket. Why? Now, on to the drive. So, the Corolla Cross Hybrid is powered by a 1.8-litre, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated Atkinson cycle engine that puts out 98 horsepower and 142 Nm of torque. Couple that to an electric motor that puts out 72 horsepower and 163 Nm of torque, for a total combined output of 122 horsepower. Now, I know what you're saying. The numbers don't add up, but it's not as simple as combining both figures together, okay? It doesn't work that way. All that power gets sent to the front wheels via an eCVT. Now, I know talking about the 0 to 100 times for this car is a little bit irrelevant, but if you must know, we tested it and we got a figure of 12.9 seconds. The petrol model did it in 12.1 seconds, so the differences negligible. For added reference, we also tested the Honda HR-V hybrid, which is the nearest hybrid competitor. That one clocked 9.5 seconds, although it is a smaller and lighter car. What's even more important is that Toyota claims that the 0 to 50 km sprint is 2.1 seconds quicker here compared to the petrol model. Now this, I totally believe, because the car feels sprightly enough for most sane overtaking maneuvers. It's not a outright fast car, so to speak. In fact, I'd go as far to say that you can safely plant your foot, not that I recommend it, for a few moments and you won't get in trouble. But enough talk about all these performance numbers. I'm sure what most of you want to know is how little fuel this car sips. And based on our own testing, over mixed conditions, we recorded a figure of 5.1 litres for every 100 kilometers. The petrol model that we tested, that one, 9.2 litres per 100 kilometers. As for the closest hybrid competitor, the HR-V hybrid, that one, we got a figure of 5.3 litres per 100 kilometers. Another area where the Corolla Cross Hybrid really excels at is cabin refinement. According to our own testing, the cabin here is 6 decibels quieter at idle compared to the petrol model, although it's not as quiet as it should be at speed. And this is down to the engine needing to work a little bit harder to, get the car moving. But the acoustic windshield that Toyota touts really does its job, and as a whole, NVH levels, they're more than acceptable. The only thing that really stands out is that you get a fair bit of the outside noise seeping in, especially when you've got motorcycles zooming by. Even the transition between the power sources, not really noticeable at all. I mean, it's there if you go looking for it, but as a whole, it's gonna fly under the radar. And the only time when refinement really goes out the window is when you stab the accelerator. Don't do that, because when you do that, the engine strains, everything gets really, really raucous in here. If you want to build speed in this car, just lean on it and let it build. Most dips and ruts, they're ironed out for the most part. The overall ride quality feels very well damped, and there's even that premium thud when you do hit potholes. But nothing really ever crashes about. All in all, I think low speed ride quality, it's pretty good. At higher speeds, it's very stable, it's very confident, it's very planted. The ride, if you drive it like a sane person, the ride never feels jittery, it's never nervous, it just flows. Okay, yeah, maybe there is a bit of body roll, but it's not going to be a total disaster. As for driving aids, the adaptive cruise control and lane trace assist, they work as expected most of the time. Now, I say most of the time because when another car merges in front, the system manages to bring the car down, to a sane speed, but only just. There are a few moments where, you're kind of wondering if it's gonna work, if it's not gonna work. So yeah, there you go. Because we don't have an electronic parking brake, when you come to a complete standstill, you're gonna have to step on the brakes because the system prompts you to do so. So when you set off again, you gotta trigger it one more time. All these little niggles aside, it's still a pretty easy car to live with on a daily basis. I mean, it's easy to see out of, it's easy to maneuver, and it has just enough power to stop it from feeling woefully underpowered. So then, has the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid scored a landslide victory over the competition? No, it hasn't. Because if you want outright flexibility and space, then go with the CR-V. If you want a proper driver's SUV, then maybe give the Subaru XV a shot. But if you want a solid, dependable all-rounder that's very fuel efficient, then yeah, why not? Now, I know what you're thinking, alright? Yes, people are worried about hybrids and long-term reliability, but this is Toyota's 4th generation hybrid system. Okay, the engineering behind it is tried and tested. Guys, Toyota has been at it for decades. Plus, what's there to be afraid when there is a 5-year unlimited mileage warranty for the car and an 8-year unlimited mileage warranty for the battery, the inverter, and the power management unit? On top of that, that 8-year warranty can be extended by another 2 years for 2,950 ringgit. Now, should you find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you need to replace the battery, that's going to cost you around 7,000 ringgit at an official Toyota dealership. And on that note, we've come to the end of the video. Let me know what your take is on the Corolla Cross Hybrid in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and till the next one, drive safe everybody. There's the hands-free powered tailgate.